Hi, Mark here. Friday, February the 6th. It's 9:27 a.m. Eastern, 2:27 p.m. GMT. US session well underway now, going into the latter part of the European session. Let's have a look at the US dollar. Starting on the dollar index, I've got the daily chart up here, and you can see today US dollar giving up gains from yesterday. Red candlestick and US dollar index down for the day at this point. Interesting, I put in as well the fib retracement tool from the recent high at 99.28, and that was middle of January, right down to the low over here at 95.39. And this is the retracement back up. Easily uh, took out the first fib retracement level, 38.2%, and the 50% at 97.32, and now got held up at the third fib retracement level, the 61.8%, and so far that has held, and as you can see, it bounced down from this resistance level. We'll see if that continues with weak US dollar through this US session. That's what we're seeing now, or if the US dollar can fight back at some point. I've got support at 97.49. I've got resistance at 97.81. Let's have a look at the majors. Here you see weak US dollar against the euro as well. That's the euro fighting back. Green candlestick, recouping yesterday's losses. I've got support at 117.63. I've got resistance at 118.18. The buyers of euro, sellers of US will look to test, break above this level, this intraday resistance. If we're going to see a continuation of selling euro and buying US, that would be a bounce down off these current resistance levels, looking back down at the support level. But to start with, weak US dollar on the index and weak US dollar against the euro. Let's have a look at the pound. There you see a similar pattern. That's the pound fighting back against a weak US this morning. I've got support at 135.08. I've got resistance at 135.97. Buyers of pound, sellers of US looking to maintain at these levels or even maybe break above this intraday resistance. If we're going to get a turnaround from weak to strong US dollar, and a continuation of this downtrend, that would be selling pound, buying US. Sellers would be looking down at the support at the 135.08. US dollar against the yen. Different picture here. Here we're not seeing the US dollar weakening like we saw against the European majors, the euro and the pound. Here you're seeing a little bit of dollar strength, not much, small green candlestick, pretty flat in line with yesterday's levels. Two days in a row now with narrow range on the US yen. I've got support at 156.53. I've got resistance at 157.14. A narrow range, you can see buyers of US will look to test, break above this resistance level. If we're going to see US dollar weakness, like we're seeing on the other two majors and on the index, sellers will look down at the 156.53 support level. US dollar Canadian, certainly weak US dollar here against a strong Canadian this morning. I've got resistance at 137.24 and I've got support at 136.43, engulfing this green candlestick and testing the support level for now. If this continues, selling US, buying Canadian, weak US against a strong Canadian today, sellers will be looking at this 136.40 or even to push lower. A turnaround from weak to strong US dollar, a bounce up of these levels of the support area would be looking back up at the 137 resistance level, resistance to the 137.24. So we are seeing weak US dollar across the board so far in the US. Early in the US session, we're seeing it on the index. We're seeing it on the pound and the euro and the Canadian. The only major where the US is holding on at this point is against the yen. We've got our resistance support levels to work with, all being tested right now. Good trading, and I'll see you at end of day session.